I begged her for an ounce of her strength so that I could put one foot in front of the other.
Tonight, on an all-new 2020, an unbreakable bond between mother and daughter, but someone came between them.
He's like, Mom's dead, and he just kept repeating, Mom's dead, Mom's dead.
I ran downstairs and was hysterical and started vomiting.
She was found laying right here.
And I said, well, you can go right over there because that's the person that killed my mom.
But just who was she pointing at?
This is a delicate question, whether somebody that she was having an affair with could have had her killed.
He started thinking about ways to engage his exit strategy.
To get rid of her.
To get rid of her.
Hold on, he's coming out.
Tonight, a daughter's discovery of family secrets and scandals leading to a dramatic showdown.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
Behind the scenes, Kim was nonstop digging for answers, getting proof.
Now we're taking you inside her obsessed 6-year crusade to catch the killer.
What kind of crimes?
You're talking murder.
2020 tonight going into a dangerous underworld no one could have imagined.
Drugs and a lot of money, inevitably a murder of April Kaufman.
Before this hour is over, there will be another shocking death. But is that the end of the story?
This is my life, and I feel like this is the worst made-for-TV movie on the planet.
Good evening, I'm Amy Robach.
And I'm David Muir, and this is 2020. And here tonight, Deborah Roberts.
WIBG, it's the talk of South Jersey.
Driving the corridor between Atlantic City and Philadelphia weekdays between the hours of 2 and 4, you may have heard this voice on WIBG FM.
If you don't vote, I will find out. I'm going to your house. I'm dragging you outside.
That's the no-nonsense April Kaufman, a peppery, provocative radio host.
I love being here to bring you the truth. As unvarnished, as unpretty, unbuttered on the biscuit it is.
Tackling topics from politics, caring for U.S. vets.
Homelessness is a big issue in our country right now for our veterans.
Listeners couldn't get enough of the Jersey girl with the platinum hair, big smile, and high wattage personality.
She was like a whirlwind. Like, she would come in and she would make a lasting impression on everyone.
In her upscale town of Linwood, New Jersey, not far from the boardwalk, April and husband Dr. Jim Kaufman, a prominent endocrinologist, are the community's consummate power couple.
The two of them were well known individually as well as together. They really wanted to be involved in the community, but they also like to have some fun.
Every day, the doctor and Mrs. Kaufman had a familiar routine. Jim heading to his medical practice before sunrise, and then a standing phone call with April at 8:30 a.m. But on Thursday, May 10th, 2012, that call to April goes unanswered. And after several failed attempts, Dr. Kaufman sends over his handyman to their home on Woodstock Drive, where he discovers a horror.
911, where's your emergency?
Yes, I have my bosses down. She's lying on the floor in her bedroom and not answering.
Okay, where are you, sir?
2 Woodstock Drive, Linwood.
Okay, hold on, I'm transferring you.
47-year-old April Kaufman found dead on the floor of her bedroom. With the family handyman on with 911, Jim calls Linwood police.
This is Dr. Kaufman. I just got called by my house person that my wife is face down on the floor.
My partner's sending out the ambulance as we speak.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm getting there as fast as I can.
Detective James Scopa took me inside the home where the wealthy socialite who once lived larger than life was discovered dead, shot multiple times.
She was found laying right here.
Face down.
Face down.
As the media got there and they started to realize who it was, that's when they knew, okay, this is really a story. It was chaos.
As the steady whir of helicopter blades begins swarming the sky, Jim Kaufman makes another phone call, this one to stepdaughter Kim Pack.
I answer the phone and I say hello, and he's like, Kimberly? And I said yes. He's like, Mom's dead. And he just kept repeating, Mom's dead, over and over. And as I got to the front door, there was a police officer that put his hands out, and I pushed his hands away. And I go, where's my mom? Where's my mom? What is happening here? I need to see my mother. He said, we think this is a potential homicide.
No one could imagine who would have shot April Kaufman. Beautiful, blonde, glamorous, and she was fun. No one had any idea what was going on behind those closed doors.
She made everybody feel like they were her best friend. Didn't matter who they were, the checkout, the parking lot cart guy, you know, hey beautiful, hey handsome, how you doing today?
Friends Peg O'Boyle and Lee Darby knew April since she was a teenager and knew her well enough to know that her outward glow masked an inner pain.
She had a really rough childhood. When April was 11, her mother gave her brothers and sister up for adoption, and April was raised by her grandmother, and her brothers and sister were put into foster care.
You know, I think she had her thirst for being, you know, feeling loved. She just wanted to be loved.
She would discover unconditional love at 17 when she gave birth to Kim with her first husband.
She was an incredible mom. She seemed to just instinctively know what to do.
She always spoke to Kimberly like a little adult, and we used to call her Agnes, Agnes Beeswax, because she was this little old soul. April just wanted the best for her and gave her the best that she possibly could. You know, she worked hard.
April dropped out of school when she became pregnant, but she got her GED. She clawed her way back. She opened a salon, a catering business, a cafe, a charity worker.
But while April worked hard, she played hard too.
She liked motorcycles and fast cars?
She did. When she got her first motorcycle, she said, I'll give you $300 to get on the back of my motorcycle. And I was like, no way. My feet are on the ground. And she would be like, all right, $500. And I'm like, no, I'm not getting on the back of your motorcycle. Just the need for speed and wasn't afraid.
After 2 failed marriages, she meets Dr. Jim Kaufman. Friends and family say the wild child finally had found her match.
He drives a Harley, he's smoking cigars, he's a Green Beret in the military, a doctor.
In fact, this caricature sketched for Jim's 60th birthday seems to sum up the couple's life. There's April, the buxom Jersey girl, overshadowed by her larger-than-life new husband, who's prominently depicted with a gun, big cigar, and something else, military tattoos.
He had Purple Hearts. He had medals, sharpshooter medals, that he had gotten from being in the war.
The Vietnam War, back when protest songs permeated the radio airwaves in the U.S. Jim Kaufman makes clear he distinguished himself on the battlefield. Kim was so impressed, she asked her stepdad to be the subject of a college project. He agreed to be interviewed with some conditions.
There were 2 rules to this interview. 1, you can never ask my mother about this, anything pertaining to this interview. And 2, you have to destroy the tape when you're finished.
That's a little mysterious.
Yeah, but you know, I just thought out of respect, this is what he's asking. He talks about how the Viet Cong had ambushed his camp, stabbed him, but also stabbed and left all of his comrades and left them for dead. And his sole mission, he had said, was to grab these dog tags and bring these dog tags to these people's families so that they know what happened to their boys.
That's an amazing story.
Yes.
It's no wonder April was motivated to mount a campaign, using her radio voice to demand quality health care for veterans.
This was such a big issue that affected our veterans and our state, our country. So I will thank my husband for a lot of the things that I've learned over the years.
April felt that veterans should be treated like rock stars.
So how did this fierce and loved advocate for casualties of war become a casualty herself? Kim has an idea and approaches investigators with a shocking declaration.
As I made my way out into the cul-de-sac, I look up in the air and there's all these news choppers flying up above. And I said, well, You can go right over there because that's the person that killed my mom.
Stay with us.
Many who attended today's funeral services at Bethel Synagogue in Margate for 47-year-old April Kaufman.
Mother's Day 2012, the town of Linwood, New Jersey turns out for one of its own, complete with a cortege of veterans leading their champion, April Kaufman, to her final resting place.
The well-known local radio host who was shot multiple times and discovered dead in her Linwood home last Thursday.
It was like a state procession for April Kaufman. No one could believe what had happened.
She just was so caring, so compassionate. She just was an inspiration to everybody.
The loss heaviest for April's daughter, Kim.
I miss her calling me nonstop, all the time. I miss her laugh. I miss her smile. I miss her infinite wisdom. Because she really was my rock.
After the mourning came the murmuring. Sometimes talk is cheap, even in wealthy towns.
This is a delicate question, but there were questions about whether your mom was having affairs.
You know, they had a very unhealthy relationship, the both of them. And I will just say that there were indiscretions on both sides of the fence. And I'll leave it at that.
Did it concern you that maybe somebody that she had been involved with could have killed her?
No, but I certainly provided those people's names to the police. And I allowed them to do their due diligence.
While the community is in shock and awash in rumor and innuendo, listen to this, April's final radio broadcast, where she sounds like a woman who thinks her days are numbered.
And my bottom line is, if nothing else, of my legacy of leaving, a really beautiful daughter and 2 grandchildren on this planet, I really hope to God that people, hey, I could get a flyover at my funeral now.
You listen back to that and you think, did she have a premonition? It's kind of like she was trying to tell us something, I believe.
In those early days after her mom's death, there's one thing gnawing at Kim. One person she's curiously not getting consolation from? Her stepdad, Dr. Jim Kaufman.
Dr. James Kaufman was a very well-respected and well-regarded member of this community. But to Kim, stepfather Jim was a very different person.
He was very cold to me, always kept me at an arm's length.
Literally. Just look at the pained body language in this video taken on Kim's wedding day.
1, 2, and 3. Here we go.
Take a close look. He steps into the scene. He smiles one time for the camera to flash. Then he goes back to a very taciturn demeanor and steps out. No hugging, no kissing, no warmth, nothing.
You would be in the dining room, I would be talking to my mom and he would come and turn the lights off and just walk out of the room.
He controlled her cash flow and
yes.
How much money she could spend?
Oh yes, and sometimes even calling her, who are you with, where are you?
And just 2 months before April's murder, it seems the bloom was officially off the rose of her nearly 10-year marriage. Kim recalling a lunch where her mother confides she's had enough.
She talked about that she really needed to start aligning herself and getting herself in a good spot to be able to leave. I think that he had made it clear to her that she wasn't going to divorce him and take half of his empire. That was his famous words.
Did you get any feeling that your mom might have been in any kind of danger?
She had made it clear over the years that he had threatened to kill her several times, but would always follow up with, he doesn't have the guts to do it.
Though Jim is not named a suspect, some might say he begins acting like one.
Within days of April's body being found, Jim hires a lawyer.
Not only a lawyer, but the lawyer, a mob lawyer.
Ed Jacobs, one of the biggest legal names in Atlantic County. He's even defended Bill Cosby in one of his sex assault accusations.
He loves defending high-profile criminal cases. His walls in his office are covered with news clips of himself.
One possible reason he's not named a suspect? He's got an airtight alibi. That's him entering a local convenience store around the same time his wife is being gunned down.
Authorities are not releasing details, but it appears that Kaufman's shooting death was not random.
I meet him in a restaurant, and he says to me, let me tell you something. I have a very good attorney, and I'd been advised to not speak to anybody about this. He's like, you might need to really start to realize that this is never going to be solved. And I said, well, I'm not going to realize that. I said, because I will never stop finding out. And I walked away, and I never spoke to him ever again.
As the months drag on, Kim says the only cold shoulder icier than Jim's is the one she's getting from then Atlantic County Prosecutor Jim McLean.
I had several meetings with him, and he would just say it was active and open and not really say much more.
Did you get the impression that he was determined to get to the bottom of this?
No.
Then, on the one-year anniversary of April's murder, many turn out for a candlelight vigil, including so many vets she made her cause. Noticeably absent, Dr. Jim Kaufman. He marks the milestone another way.
We discovered that he was getting ready to auction off all of April's belongings and hadn't given anything to Kim.
How crushing was that for you?
Beyond, because the things that I asked for that belonged to my mother were family heirlooms or possibly Disney coffee mugs.
With her mother and all those mementos lost, Kim tries to adjust to a new normal while raising her 2 young sons and holding down her job as a pharmaceutical sales rep.
Marching through every single day, waking up with another day of hopelessness while trying to keep that glimmer of hope alive is a very tricky thing to do.
Yet while life for Kim seems hopelessly on pause, for Jim Kaufman, it's full speed ahead. Just 15 months after his wife's murder, he ties the knot again.
He remarries Carol Weintraub. When did that start? Now, the version we've gotten is that they started dating after April was found murdered. Now that's some romance.
April's friends and family were devastated, and they felt like it was a slap in the face, but the people who support Jim Kaufman say, you know, he's a widow, and he's moving on with his life.
But Dr. Kaufman's next move sets off a chain of events that pushes Kim out of limbo.
He went after my mom's life insurance policy.
And your reaction?
No way. Because you know what? This was my only attempt to maybe be able to get some answers, and the truth maybe would start to come out.
Now it's Kim's turn to lawyer up. Believing Jim is the killer, she files a wrongful death suit against her stepdad to keep him from getting her mom's $600,000 life insurance policy.
I have no choice to respond and to begin to fight for what I know is right.
The most significant kind of civil lawsuit you can have is a wrongful death case.
Coming up, a daughter undaunted, and the dynamic duo attorneys she hires begin digging into the case, and what they say they uncover is shocking.
We were talking to people that were critical witnesses to us that had not spoken to the prosecutor's office.
And their chance to grill the grieving good doctor.
He was under oath in a civil deposition. They could ask him anything.
Next. Atlantic City, legendary for its slots, signature shows, and of course, this moment. But the boom and the bust of the casino industry has made America's favorite playground a hotbed for crime, corruption, and a startling number of unsolved cases. Cases like April Kaufman's, but Kim Pack and her dogged attorneys, Patrick and Andrew Darcy, drill down, determined to get answers.
Behind the scenes, Kim, with us, was nonstop digging for answers, getting proof. We were on an island, all on our own.
But the tide may be turning.
I grew up on the beaches and the boardwalk of Atlantic City, and I always say I have sand in my shoes.
Meet Damon Tyner, son of one of Atlantic City's fabled firefighters and a longtime cop.
Your dad was a bit of a legend.
Yeah, he was very well known throughout the community.
But the younger Tyner made a name for himself as a Superior Court judge.
Good to see you. How you making out? So they named a pizza for me.
I think right here.
Yep, that would be me.
And then last year,
I, Damon G. Tyner,
became the first black prosecutor in the county's history.
So help me God.
many seeing him as the city's much-needed savior.
You're doing a good job, man.
I appreciate it.
Doing a great job.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Joey, you all right?
I know, not judge anymore.
Good to see you.
That man's cleaning up AC. There you go.
You took a pledge when you took the office. Tell me about the pledge.
Dating back to 1970, there are about 140 unsolved homicides. I urged my executive staff to tell me which cases were most solvable. Unanimously, they all came back to me and said the murder of April Kaufman.
But Tyner is sworn in almost 5 years after April Kaufman's murder. 5 long years.
A lot of people wondered why 5 years passed and no recognizable work had been done.
It wasn't that there were glaring mistakes. It was just an omission of effort, you might say.
We wondered about that and tried asking former prosecutor Jim McClain about the investigation. His spokesperson tells 2020 McClain has no comment.
Fortunately, Damon Tyner became prosecutor and his team came to the conclusion that this case should be prosecuted.
For the first time, someone's listening here.
Tyner agreed to meet Kim Pack and her lawyers within that first month.
What did that mean to you?
The fact that I was lucky enough for him to say, I'm going to take a second look at this. Me, my case, thank you. Like, this is all I've been asking for this entire time, is for someone to care.
It took 3 hours for Kim's lawyers to unpack all they had uncovered.
You should take a look at these records.
But no evidence as compelling or illuminating as this.
Today's July the 11th, 2014.
A 4.5-hour-long video deposition of Dr. Jim Kaufman himself, finally talking for that wrongful death lawsuit Kim has filed.
Basically, I ask the questions, you give the answers. Understood?
Yes.
4.5 hours under oath is a lot of time. It's a lot of questions.
I do. Okay.
We may proceed.
That was the first time he could be compelled to talk.
There he is in the hot seat for the very first time, getting grilled on everything from his love of guns.
How many guns do you own?
Approximately 18.
To the moment he first saw his wife lying lifeless on the floor.
I ran upstairs. I looked inside and unfortunately saw April lying there. And she wasn't moving, and she had a pallor, which I've known after 30 years is obviously someone has passed away. And I ran downstairs and went out on the lawn and was hysterical and started vomiting.
Okay, do you have tissues, by the way?
I got them.
Do you need to break? When I look at a deposition, I sometimes turn the sound down. I don't want to hear what they're saying. I want to see what they look like and what their facial expressions are. He struck me as a manipulative guy.
But there's a barrel-sized bombshell about to drop. The doctor's casual and stunning admission about a secret he's been keeping for years. Seems that time he spent in the Special Forces wasn't so special.
Have you ever served in any branch of the military?
No.
That's right, Dr. Kaufman forced to come clean about his so-called stellar military record. Those Purple Hearts, those sharpshooter medals, all lies.
Did you ever tell Kim Pack you were in the military?
Yes.
Okay. Did she ever do a project for college, and part of the project was you being in the military?
Yes.
And what you went through?
Yes.
And that you carried bodies?
Yes.
And the torture that you had gone through?
Yes.
Did you ever tell anyone that you were a Green Beret?
Yes.
Who'd you tell?
I don't recall how many people I told.
So he created this background that didn't even really exist.
That is correct. Once you start examining someone who is bold enough to engage in stolen valor, you start realizing that there are other aspects to this man's life that would require us to investigate.
But in that deposition, Dr. Kaufman posits his own theories about who may have killed his wife.
Who do you think did it?
I thought it could be someone who was one of the veterans. The last choice was that it was someone in a motorcycle gang.
What motorcycle gang?
The Pagans.
The Pagan motorcycle gang? Remember, April had a penchant for motorcycles. Could that mean she was in deep with the kind of people known for violent behavior?
The pagan outlaws are the equivalent of the Hells Angels. They are felons of the most dangerous sort.
Coming up, a stunning turn in the Kaufman case.
No, I'm killing myself.
Leading to a standoff in the Garden State.
Drop the gun!
No, I'm not going to jail for this.
Put the weapon down.
No!
Stay with us. We're on the beat with James Scopa, lead detective determined to crack a big case for Atlantic City's new prosecutor.
I was happy when Prosecutor Tyner came in and he allowed us to work on the case and investigate it like we believed it should be.
Meanwhile, Kim and her lawyers keep their eye on what they believe is the prize, Jim Kaufman, using his pictures on social media as incentive.
I would get a picture of Jim Kaufman and Carol at the Final Four and, you know, smiling, and I'd put it on my brother's screen so that when he came in the morning, that would be the first thing he'd see is a picture of Jim Kaufman saying, yeah, so what? I killed her. What are you going to do about it?
But there's an unexpected canary in Kaufman's coal mine. It's coming in the form of a tip from the FBI. The feds believe Kaufman may be involved in another unrelated crime.
Lo and behold, another investigation related to insurance fraud, his role as a doctor, comes up.
Investigators get a warrant to search his office.
So they show up at Kaufman's clinic just to look at his records.
On June 13th, 2017, we attempted to serve a search warrant at Dr. Kaufman's office here.
Within minutes, it's clear this will not be a routine visit.
Detective Scope at the prosecutor's office under the last week. Stay right here for me. Just keep your hands off out there. No.
What does he do instead of ushering them in as most of us would with the feds? No, he grabs a 9mm Ruger.
A police body cam captures it all. You can see and hear him refusing to let authorities inside.
I have one at gunpoint, Dr. James Kaufman. He has a weapon. Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
For 45 minutes, there's a heart-pounding standoff.
Drop the gun!
At one point, Dr. Kaufman threatening to take his life.
I'm going to kill myself.
It sure seems like Jim thinks they're there in connection with April's murder.
Listen, let's talk.
I'm not going to jail for this.
We got movement.
Finally, a hostage negotiator gets the disgraced doctor to surrender.
Dr. Kaufman, please step out to the curb. Now, slowly, reach down and pull your shirt up. Keep walking backwards.
Just watch the building to make sure there's no one else still inside.
This video changes everything.
The husband of a murdered South Jersey radio host and advocate is behind bars following an early morning standoff.
Investigators say that same day they seized more weapons from Kaufman and at least $100,000 in cash. That was a game changer.
After the standoff with Jim Kaufman, he goes to jail, not for murder, but for weapons charges. He fights to try to get out. The judge would not let him out based on his conduct, and that gives the new prosecutor, Tyner, a chance to really dig into the murder case.
Starting with the crime scene.
So this is the house here. The bedroom that April was found was upstairs.
But the biggest break in the case doesn't come from inside this house at all.
We knew Dr. Kaufman that there was a point in time that he was inquiring about having her killed. And
how'd you find that out?
We were able to get a witness to cooperate with us this past November. That broke the case.
And who was that witness? A former member of the Pagans Motorcycle Club. Remember them? They're the ones Dr. Kaufman had pointed the finger at in his deposition.
The last choice was that it was someone in a motorcycle gang.
What motorcycle gang?
The Pagans.
But now the tables have turned. One of those pagans ratting out Kaufman, and not just for murder. Prosecutor Tyner on January 9th, 2018.
Hey, Sergeant. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Damon G. Tyner.
At a press conference, Tyner lays out the case of an elaborate and secret double life that Dr. Jim Kaufman was leading. Treating patients by day, writing fraudulent opioid prescriptions for those pagans by night.
they would come in and be patients. And all of a sudden you had a prominent endocrinologist that was prescribing opioids and all kinds of other painkillers when that wasn't quite his practice.
So he's got the power of the prescription, and then they've got the gang activity.
Essentially, they were flooding the market with opioids and selling them at a marked up price.
What a bombshell. This straight-laced doctor that everyone had respected was part of a pill mill, a drug ring. And not only that, with the pagan outlaw motorcycle gang. And April Kaufman found out.
Found out and, according to Tyner, threatened to expose his secret seedy double life.
He started thinking about ways to engage his exit strategy.
To get rid of her.
To get rid of her.
For the past 5.5 years since April Kaufman was found shot to death, there's been little movement on this case, and no arrests had been made in connection with the murder. That is, until today.
An explosive breakthrough in the murder of radio host April Kaufman.
Murder charges just filed against Dr. James Kaufman in a plot that police say involved members of a motorcycle gang.
But wait a minute, didn't the doctor have an airtight alibi? Remember that early morning stop at a convenience store? Tyner says Kaufman wasn't the shooter, that he paid one of those pagans roughly $20,000 to do his dirty work and kill his wife.
He went inside and he shot April Kaufman twice.
And ironically, that alleged hitman died a year and a half after April's murder of an opiate overdose. His pills prescribed by, you guessed it, Dr. Jim Kaufman.
When I heard the details of everything, it really was unbelievable. I feel like this is the worst made-for-TV movie on the planet.
The prosecutor worries Dr. Kaufman could be targeted by pagan members in jail, so they move him upstate to the Hudson County Correctional Facility as they begin gearing up for their first major trial. Finally, a chance to close one of those Atlantic County cold cases. But then, another shocking turn.
Dr. James Kaufman dead. Officials with the Hudson County Correctional Facility confirmed that he died at 9:20 this morning.
What was your reaction when you heard this?
I was stunned.
The story started off terrible and is ending terrible.
Dr. Jim Kaufman dead. But how?
Were you worried that he could be hurt in prison?
That's always a concern.
Will justice ever be served? Stay with us. It's been a long, strange trip for Dr. Jim Kaufman, from a plush suburban cul-de-sac to the Hudson County Jail. His new home, a 6 by 9 foot cell like this.
This is unit.
This is Charlie 500 East. Maximum security.
The inmates, many considered violent and dangerous, were Dr. Kaufman's new neighbors as he awaited his trial in a facility just across the river from New York City.
What kind of crimes?
You're talking murder.
It's rare to get a look inside these tight quarters unless you're an inmate, but corrections officers agreed to take us in, recalling that fateful morning. Just after serving Dr. Kaufman breakfast, they made a grim discovery. The doctor was dead, hanging himself with a laundry cord.
I was stunned, but that's, in retrospect, that's what convinces me now more than ever that he understood that the end was near.
He realized it had all caught up with him.
Yes, I think so.
Bottom line, he had his wife murdered, and the only way out for him was suicide.
Kaufman did leave something behind in that jail cell. This note obtained by 2020.
Even in that jail cell, when he killed himself, he had to write this very lengthy suicide note to be in control at the very end, to get the last word.
Kaufman adamant that he didn't kill April.
I cannot live like this. No matter what anybody says, did not do anything to my wife.
This 6-page suicide note is bizarre
Throughout the note, he quotes Latin, including phrases that Roman gladiators would say to the emperor before they fought in the Colosseum. Really?
His final words do add a surprisingly new angle to the sordid saga.
April came to me and said, would I like to go to a motorcycle rally to meet some of her friends? I was slightly shocked, to say the least, that they had the colors of pagans.
The most important thing that Jim Kaufman wants people to take away from this note is, I didn't kill April. She introduced me to this outlaw gang. I was prescribing pills. They then got aggressive with me. They then started threatening me. And they're the ones who killed April.
Were you able to determine whether April had any involvement with either the gang or the pill mill?
Our investigation at the time did not lead us to believe that she had any involvement. I believe that at some point she became aware of it. I think ultimately that's the reason why she was killed.
But dead men tell no tales, at least not in court. And with both that alleged hitman and Jim Kaufman deceased, Tyner's last call for justice rests with the case he's building against the accused pagan ringleader, who he believes conspired with Kaufman to kill April. He's pled not guilty.
There is an aspect of the investigation that's continuing with a defendant who is still pending trial. So I won't disclose too much about that part of the investigation, but suffice it to say that we were convinced that Jim Kaufman's involvement in this matter was enough to charge him with conspiracy to commit murder.
Is there any doubt in your mind that her husband wanted her dead?
There's no doubt in my mind.
A painful conclusion for a grieving daughter, yet a measure of solace. Kim Pack may finally find the justice she's been seeking for years.
Why do you think this case wasn't solved 6 years ago?
I don't know, that's the million-dollar question. But what I do know is that I was blessed and granted the ability to have peace in my life for the first time in 6 years by a man with determination and that believed in my story. And that is Damon Tyner, and I am forever grateful to that man.
Although in a tale as twisted and tragic as this, there's hardly any true closure.
And that's the saddest part of this entire story. Her mom's still not coming back. And when everything's quiet and it's just Kim and she's alone and she's thinking, her best friend's gone.
We were robbed. And for what? I still don't have the answer to that. For what?
When we come back, one of those precious family heirlooms sold at auction has been recovered. The secret message from beyond the grave found inside, next. Kim Pack doesn't just resemble her mom, she's inherited the same passion that made April Kaufman so beloved.
She's like a pit bull.
She is.
She latches on and she's not letting go until she gets what she's looking for.
She's the mini April.
There's been dark days, very dark days where I just didn't know how I was going to do this. But I knew that I needed to stand up. This story needed to be told.
But in that darkness, something special. Remember when Jim sold off all of April's belongings? Turns out Lee Darby and Peg O'Boyle, dubbing themselves April's Angels, swooped in.
These women got together and they were on the phone calling people, raising money to be able to buy back things that belonged to my mother.
So that's how you got the last remnants of your mom's things?
Yes, and my mom collected these little Limoges things, and this was the first item that I touched from the auction. And inside this note, it says, "To Kimberly, from Mom. Whenever you look at this, you know you're always loved. You're so special. Best wishes for the rest of your life."
And you had no idea that note was there?
No, and I feel like this was meant to be. I feel like I was meant to have this. I keep this by my bed. It reminds me that my mom is with me all the time.
Out in the community, other reminders.
My husband and my boys got this bench dedicated for her. It's special because it's a spot that we stop and my kids will bring up a memory or they will talk about her.
And if Mom could say just one more thing to her daughter?
I think she would say to me now, you can breathe, you can go on and live, you don't have to be sad anymore. And thank you for fighting.
A fighter to the finish. Remember Kim Pack's civil case to get her mother's life insurance?
But we can report tonight that her attorney now says that's been amicably settled with Kaufman's widow. And that is 2020 for tonight. I'm David Muir.
And I'm Amy Robach. From all of us here at ABC News in 2020, good night.
An all-new 2020 starts right now.
He just kept stabbing and stabbing. I remember trying to defend myself like this with my hands, and that's where I got the cuts on my hands.
Jason was confronted by the assailant. Someone that came into their apartment had assaulted him and his roommate.
Because she was stabbed so many times, you think, this is personal. This is someone who wanted her dead.
When you go into her apartment, what is the scene like?
You could tell that there was a struggle in there. She fought hard.
Jonna went door to door trying to get assistance.
At one point, I was praying. It wasn't her.
They had made a mistake.
Now revisiting the scene of a nightmare.
He pushed me back this way, and I fell on the bed like this. I took off and I ran as fast as I could this way.
Did it trouble you that he ran away from the scene to get help instead of trying somehow to help her?
Scared, he wants to get away.
So he ran from here over this way to the convenience store.
I didn't have anything to do with this. If I had something to hide, why would I take this test?
I believe that's next to Warren House, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm Officer Dinah Kidd. I work for the Knox County Sheriff's Department. It was around 4:15 a.m. on the night of December 6th. It was real windy that night. We didn't have a lot of calls coming in. We felt like we were wrapping up our night because it was only a couple more hours till we'd get off.
8791.
And then we get the dispatch call that says there's a young man that had ran to the Weigels.
1080 with the victim just occurred at Weigels, 328 North Cedar Bluff. Time, stand by for update.
It's early morning in December when the clerk inside this convenience store gets a startling visitor. A young man who's bloody, pleading for help. He's barefoot and appears to have been seriously injured.
Knox County 911. Yes, with the Weigels number at Cedar Bluff Road. Mm-hmm. There's a man that just walked in the store. He's heavily bloodied. Looks like he's been in a fight.
A gentleman had called in from the Weigels on Cedar Bluff and stated that he had been attacked.
When he ran up to the Weigels, he had blood all over his clothing as he entered into the gas station. He had a stab wound to his face. He had cuts on his hands. He was stabbed in the chest. So he did have obvious signs of trauma on his body.
Does he need an ambulance? Yeah, that's what he said. Okay, can I talk to him, please? Sure, he wants to talk. All right, what's your name? Jason Amami. Jason? Amami. Now what happened? I just felt somebody stab me right in my chest. Somebody stabbed you? Me in my face. And that's the first thing I did was get up and run.
He'd heard some noise. He came outside. He came out into the hallway, and he had seen someone in the hallway, which then came to him and attacked him. He eventually got away from the attacker, and Jason had ran out the door.
He had on clothing that he was sleeping in, which was just a pair of shorts.
He had left so abruptly that he didn't even take time to get his glasses or his shoes before leaving the apartment. He just ran out as quickly as possible to flee and get help.
And while Jason Amami tells the clerk that he was able to get away, shockingly, he says he wasn't alone in that apartment.
His roommate's still in there. Apparently somebody broke into his house. Is his roommate okay? He doesn't know. How Is he okay?
She was screaming very loud.
Now, where's your address at?
Redora Road,
Redora?
R-H-O-D-O-R-A.
R-H-O?
Park Apartment.
When the call came out, we then went to the apartment complex to check on the girl and kind of see what we could find there.
21-year-old Jonna Berry is barely clinging to life.
They found Jonna laying just inside an entranceway. She was face down and had multiple wounds to her body.
You were one of the first responders here.
Yes, ma'am.
What do you remember about Jonna Berry? What kind of shape was she in?
She was not in good shape. As soon as you opened the door, she was laying in the corridor at the bottom of the steps. Her apartment was at the top of the steps, and she was covered in blood. That it was her hair. She's got beautiful blonde hair, and it stuck with me because at the time I thought she might have red hair because there was so much blood.
Just kind of moaning, making a few sounds, but was unable to talk due to her injuries.
She did have a very large wound on her neck. She also had multiple stab wounds across her body.
Over 25 wounds to her body.
It was very obvious that Jonna had been in a fight for her life and that it was a very violent struggle.
For me, it was one of the worst crime scenes that I have been involved in since being in law enforcement.
When you go into her apartment, what is the scene like?
When we go up the steps and go into the apartment looking for the suspect or anybody else that's injured, the knife was in the floor and it had blood on it, hair on it, and it was bent.
There were 6 units in the apartment building. There was blood on each of the doors within the 6 units. And we could tell from that Jonna was the person who went door to door trying to get assistance.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning. It's not the middle of the night, per se.
One individual thought someone was breaking into his apartment. We called 911.
Knox County 911.
Yeah, I hear a lot of noise outside my apartment. There was a lot of banging on the doors back downstairs. Now I hear some sort of yelling something. I don't know what it is. Get someone out.
He looked out his peephole of his door.
Do you see anybody outside?
I look out the peephole. Yeah.
What's your name? Just hang up on me.
He didn't see anyone.
It's because Jonna was crumpled on the ground below that peephole. Absolutely heartbreaking.
Unfortunately, the call dropped and there was no other activity.
Everything we have for Brandon Park Apartment.
Once the residence was cleared and we noticed there's no one else injured in the apartment, we go back down the stairs. I go back to her. So I leaned down and was talking to her, asking her if she knew who done this, if she knew where they went. I was just asking her all kinds of questions, try to help us find out who done this and what had happened. She would move around a little bit, but she couldn't answer me. So by this time, I just kind of held her hand and waited on EMS to arrive.
That night, 2 young people come face to face with an intruder. Jason manages to escape, but Jonna, who was too injured to speak, denied.
We were wondering what led to this horrific tragedy.
The attacker has vanished, the motive unknown.
Are our children safe? Are we safe? We had no idea who did this.
Police launch a full-scale manhunt across the Knoxville community. Inside that foyer, Jonna Berry is still alive, brutally wounded, and struggling to hold on.
I just held her hand and waited on EMS to arrive.
I remember distinctly that it was raining when I got to the scene.
Jonna dies in the ambulance, her fight ending before she ever reaches the hospital. What do you think that may have meant to her or to you to even just be there to comfort her?
I hope it helped her, and to me it would mean a lot if that was my child there.
It was 4 a.m. in the morning on December the 6th. We got a phone call from Knoxville UT Hospital. The gentleman on the other end of the phone, he asked to speak to Mike, which was very unusual because nobody called my cell phone and asked to speak with my husband.
She handed me the phone, and there was somebody on there said, "Are you Michael Berry?" And I said, "Yes." "Do you have a daughter, Jonna?" And I said, "Yes." Just to let you know, your daughter was murdered.
I heard him say, "Jonna's been murdered." And at one point, I was praying. It wasn't her.
They had made a mistake.
Yeah. My youngest son lived here, so I called him and I said, hysterically, "It's Jonna. Something's happened. You need to get to UT."
This had to be a nightmare for everybody.
It was. It rained all the way. It was like the angels was just crying.
It's just something that you never forget.
After nearly 4 hours on the road, Jonna's parents finally make it to the hospital.
When we got there, my youngest son was in the parking lot. He said, "It's true, Mama, it's Jonna."
Did you have any idea what happened at that moment?
No. And the boys identified her body, which was very upsetting to me.
She was in bad shape.
Yes. I wish that I could spare them the heartache and the memory that they'll have forever.
Jonna, smile to the camera, girl.
Hey! Jonna grew up in a tight-knit family in Bristol, Tennessee. Take me back. Tell me what kind of a little child she was.
Jonna was a very happy child. She was very ambitious. She did dance and cheerleading.
2 older brothers.
She had 2 older brothers. They were very protective of her.
You had a beauty salon, and I imagine she was running around.
Yes, she would get a manicure. I polished her little nails. She always wanted makeup on and her hair done. She was my best friend.
She was your best friend?
She was.
After high school, Jonna heads off to East Tennessee State University, where she gets a degree in child psychology. What was it that she aspired to? What were her aspirations?
She wanted to devote her life to children. She wanted to help them in any way she could.
As Jonna grows older, her dreams for her future grow bigger, and she meets her fiancé, Jason White.
Jonna got engaged when she was 20.
Kind of young.
It was young, but she knew what she wanted and she worked hard to get it.
Jonna loves children, and that passion leads her to Knoxville, where she begins working toward a master's degree in child psychology. Most here consider this a safe slice of America, next to the Tennessee River. About 35 miles away, you'll find Dollywood, nestled in the Great Smoky Mountains. She's going to school, she's moving, about to get a new degree. That's a lot.
But she was so ambitious. She was constantly on the move.
How does she go about finding a place to live?
She was in the process of looking for an apartment, but we hadn't found the exact thing, so she stayed with a friend from college. She rented a bedroom.
That friend was Jana's roommate, Jason Amami.
I'd known Jason for a couple of years prior when she was in college.
He was somebody you were familiar with.
Yeah, we knew him, and he was a good friend. It was just a temporary thing.
Were you at all questioning or concerned about Jason Amami?
Jason was stabbed also, but Jana's brothers and her dad wondered why Jason didn't help her.
And police have their own questions. They sit down for the first of several interviews with Amami.
He was able to explain to us that he woke up in the middle of the night because he heard a scream. Jason knew that Jana did have nightmares, so at first he assumed that she could have just been having a nightmare. But as he got up, he noticed that there was a male figure backing out of Jana's bedroom.
Jason was confronted by the assailant. He was stabbed about 6 to 8 times.
At that point, Jason didn't hear any more screams for Jana. He wasn't sure if she had escaped the apartment or not. He just ran out as quickly as possible.
You have an initial reaction to any attack, and that's going to be fight, flight, freeze.
To unravel the mystery of Jana Berry's murder, police zero in on a critical piece of evidence found at the scene.
When officers go inside the apartment, they see so much blood, it's everywhere. Then they see a bloody shoe print.
A single shoe print soaked in blood. Could this be the clue that unmasks the killer?
Jana was funny, charismatic, intelligent. She just had this aura about her that just drew people in. Who would want to hurt somebody that was so pure?
Christmas was Jana's favorite time of year, her family says. And just hours before the murder, she and her mom were on the phone talking about picking up gifts for the holidays.
I said, I did some Christmas shopping today, and she said, oh, I did too. We talked a little more, and we said good night, and I love you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.
The night she died, she had been wrapping Christmas gifts for children.
Jana had them separated, in little piles, they said, with the kids' names on them.
It just seemed so tragic right before Christmas.
Fear gripped the city of Knoxville. A young woman savagely stabbed in her own home, and her killer on the loose.
21-year-old Jana Berry and her roommate were stabbed in their Brendan Park apartment.
It really left the community feeling unsettled.
I'm a news anchor here at WATE in Knoxville, and I have covered the Jana Berry case since the very beginning. This seemed to be a crime out of nowhere. There were so many questions, and people were wondering what on earth is going on.
To this day, Jana's mom, Joan, can't shake the image. Her daughter bleeding, terrified, pounding on doors, and nobody answering. When you heard that she frantically ran asking for help and nobody answered their doors, what did you make of that?
It angered me at first. I can understand someone not opening the door at 4 o'clock in the morning. I can understand that. People don't want to get involved. Why couldn't you be more like Jana and want to help people? She would have helped anybody.
Some of the folks in the apartment complex possibly could not have heard the knock on the door due to it being in the middle of the night and the bedroom being located so far away from the front door. Some people, we learned, were not at home.
Detectives begin a full-scale investigation, and there's one thing that is impossible to ignore: the sheer amount of blood in Jana's apartment. How bloody was this crime scene?
There was blood in not only in Jana's bedroom, Jason's bedroom, blood in the living room, blood on the back door, blood out the back of the apartment going down the stairs.
Blood is on the doorknob, blood is on the floor, blood is on the door.
Looked like there had been some type of fight in Jana's bedroom.
This had been a struggle.
Yes, you could tell that there was a struggle in there. You could tell that she fought hard.
Numerous samples of blood were taken from the crime scene. The blood sample was sent to the TBI for analysis. This is the exit that the perpetrator took the night of the crime. We can see that this door is ajar. There's no evidence of a forcible break-in.
Detectives wanted to find out was how the person got into the apartment without no forced entry being there. Was the door left unlocked? Did they have a key? Were they let in?
There was some speculation that Jonna had been on the phone with her fiance, and perhaps in the excitement of wrapping the gifts and just having these other distractions that she forgot to lock the door.
Could it have been a friend of theirs that was in the apartment? Was it somebody that had gotten upset with Jason or Jonna? So there's a lot of different theories that were being thought about of what could have happened.
Investigators also discover curious items in the apartment, like a hat and a CD case they believe belonged to the killer.
The Atlanta Braves hat, the CD case, all of those things were leading us to believe that someone else possibly had entered the apartment since these things did not belong to either one of the occupants of the apartment.
The murder weapon was discovered in the hallway directly outside of Jonna's bedroom.
The knife was in the floor and it had blood on it, hair on it, and it was bent.
The hair that was found on the knife appeared to be from Jonna.
We knew right away that the knife came from inside the home. It was part of a matching set that was from the kitchen. What stood out to me the most about the weapon is how damaged it was. The handle was broken, the blade was bent. I could only assume that it had hit bone, that it was used multiple times, that it was very violent just given the force to break the handle.
While the murder weapon reveals a violent struggle, there's a single piece of evidence left on the blade which might point to the hand that held it.
There was a partial fingerprint that was found on the knife. There was an unknown DNA that was found on the knife.
Now that's got to be important because now that's going to be something that's going to lead you to somebody.
Oh yes, very, very important. If we can match a fingerprint or a partial fingerprint to someone, that would help. Our guys photographed it, sent that off to the lab to see if they would be able to get the fingerprint off of there and see if it was in any kind of system or database that they had.
But police aren't finished yet. In Jason's room, they discover a piece of cardboard and on it a damning piece of evidence.
There was a very pronounced shoe print. And what stood out about the shoe print the most is that it was in blood.
Detectives also take note of the shocking number of times that Jonna was stabbed.
Jonna's autopsy revealed that she suffered over 20 stab wounds, some of them to her neck, head, and face, as well as her chest, back, and legs.
She had close to 26 stab wounds.
The nature of the crime, it was a very intimate, personal crime.
It kind of led to maybe thinking it was somebody that knew her, that had gotten mad at her, maybe a crime of passion. So we were looking at people who were close to her.
Because she was stabbed so many times, you think, this is personal. This is someone who wanted her dead. This had to be someone who knew her.
And that's when detectives begin looking closely at the two Jasons in Jonna's life. Could one of them know more than he's letting on?
Her personal life, or knew where she lived.
Jonna also worked part-time at a jewelry store in the Westtown Mall, and detectives learned that she had some concerns about a suspicious car.
When she left the mall one night, there was a car circling the parking lot. She thought maybe somebody that she had spoken to in the store where she worked maybe was following her. We looked at surveillance video, never did come up with anything from the mall. As far as the hospital goes, that was sort of a dead end. It never produced any kind of information either.
Jonna had no enemies. You know, nobody ever expressed being angry with her, or she never had any trouble with anybody. We had no earthly idea of who could have done this.
We really focused mostly on her closest circle. The first people that we wanted to clear from Jonna's murder were Jason, the roommate, and Jason, her fiance at the time.
The violent nature of the attack, the numerosity of the wounds, all hinted towards some sort of personal relationship that she may have had with somebody.
Joan Berry says her daughter met Jason White at a party when they were both students at East Tennessee State University, and the romance moved quickly.
We're very fond of Jason. She got engaged at Christmas, and she couldn't wait to show me her ring.
She wanted more than anything to be his wife and be a mom and raise a child with him and have them grow old together. She was so excited to marry him.
After graduation, Jason moves to Michigan to get his law degree, while Jonna moves to Knoxville to continue her studies.
He was in Michigan, and every night she would go to sleep with them talking. And then when she would go to sleep is when he would hang up.
In speaking with Jason White, he had explained to us that he talked to Jonna that night.
Detectives learned through his cell phone records that his cell phone appeared to be in Michigan the entire time.
No, there was no suspicions in my mind. I had never crossed my mind that Jason White ever did that.
Very quickly within the investigation, Jason White was cleared as a suspect.
Police are also interested in talking to the other Jason in Jonna's life, her roommate, Jason Amami.
So, how are you doing? I am doing good.
Police interview Jason the day after he gets out of the hospital, where he was treated for wounds to his chest, face, and hands.
Once Jonna's fiance was ruled out, all eyes went to her roommate. And one of the first questions investigators asked him was, do you have a romantic interest in Jonna?
As far as your relationship with Jonna, how long have you known her?
I've known her for probably at least over 5 years.
Okay. Did you guys ever date?
No.
Never?
No. I was living in Knoxville and she needed a place to stay, so I said I'd be happy to let you live with me. That wouldn't be a problem.
She's got her fiance. Right. This is another guy. What did you make of the arrangement for her to move in with a guy as a roommate?
I was fine with that. I'd known Jason for a couple of years. He was a boyfriend of one of her good friends too. So, and even her fiance, Jason White, he didn't have a problem with it.
He tells Detective Delgado that on the night of the attack, he was watching TV when Jonna decides to go to bed.
She probably went to sleep about 10:30. I probably went to sleep 12:30 around there.
What do you remember after that?
I just remember waking up, hearing screams. I looked at my alarm clock. I believe I remember seeing a 4, so probably 4 a.m. sometime.
Jason says it's not the first time he's been awakened by Jonna screaming at night.
She sleeps very light. She told me when she first moved in, she said, if I wake up and I'm scared or something, just come in and check on me, make sure I'm okay.
At first he assumed that she could have just been having a nightmare, but as he got up and he was leaving his room to enter her bedroom, he noticed that there was a male figure.
Next thing I remember is I'm on my bed and he's on top of me. I just remember fighting with him. He punched me in my face. I kept telling him, I was like, what do you want? He just kept telling me, shut up, shut up. And then I felt a sharp pain right here, and that's when I knew he had a knife.
He grabbed the knife to try to get it away from the individual. He kicked the individual in the groin area. The individual went back against the bedroom wall. He saw an opening that he would be able to get out of the bedroom.
At that point, he didn't hear any more screams for Jonna. He wasn't sure if she had escaped the apartment or not. But at that point, he just ran out of the apartment as quickly as possible.
You ran out of the apartment. Did you take anything with you?
I didn't even think about it.
What were you wearing?
I was wearing blue workout shorts, which I wore to the gym, and a pair of boxers.
Okay.
And that's all I was wearing. I just ran straight out the door and right across the street. And I was banging on some of the doors at the other complex.
Investigators zero in on an important point in Jason's story. He came face to face with his attacker, Jonna's killer.
Now, let's just go through what this guy looks like.
He's got short hair, kind of like mine. It's like a brownish blonde color.
He felt confident that he would be able to identify the person, provide a sketch of what this individual looked like.
This is Tom. Tom, this is Jason.
Hey, how's that?
Tom's going to help you with the composite.
Using Jason's detailed description of that attacker, police are able to generate a photorealistic computer composite of their suspect. So he's able to give you some details about what this intruder looked like?
Yes, because he was face to face with that person. So he's really the only living survivor that can give us a description of the individual.
Despite Jason's cooperation, investigators say they still have lingering questions about Jana's roommate.
There was no forced entry, and I think that led investigators to probably focus a little bit more on Jason Amami.
Also, we had to look at the murder weapon came from within the apartment, within their own knife set. So, Jason had access to that. Could he have gotten the knife and used it to commit this crime? Could he have cut his own finger? It'd be pretty hard to stab yourself in the face close to your eye, but we couldn't rule that out.
Is Jason a victim or a suspect? Investigators take him back to the scene of the crime. Will his story hold up?
He just kept stabbing and stabbing. That's at the point to where I noticed he finally had a knife.
The walkthrough was really important for us. Look for inconsistencies regarding what he was telling us about the scene, what happened that night.
John and I talked about her wedding plans. We looked at several venues. We did purchase the wedding gown, and I'm grateful that Jonna got to experience that in her life.
Just days ago, Joan Berry was helping her daughter plan a dream wedding. But after Jana's violent murder, her mom is now planning her daughter's funeral.
When we got to the cemetery, it was raining, and Jonna was buried in her engagement ring. She still had some blood around her cuticles and her fingernails. So I cleaned her nails, and that was the last thing I could do for her.
She had so many plans for her life, and she was going to live life on her own terms. And that was taken from her, brutally and violently taken from her.
Her brother was supposed to play the piano
at her
wedding.
Right.
And now he's playing at her funeral. How does a family switch gears like that?
You don't have no choice. We had no choice.
But there's an unexpected guest at the funeral. Just 48 hours after he was released from the hospital, Jana's roommate, Jason Amami, attends the funeral. And so do detectives.
There was a lot of chatter about the fact that Jason had run from the scene and leaving Jana there, essentially to die.
People thought he had to have some kind of role in this because of his actions or inaction.
Did it trouble you that he ran away from the scene to get help instead of trying somehow to help her?
It did for a while, but after you have time to process things and really think about it, I thought he was just trying to get out too, because he was attacked.
Detectives want an exact picture of what happened inside Jana and Jason's apartment. With his detailed play-by-play, Jason takes them as close as possible to being in that room when the attack happened.
Date is December 9th, 2004. Time is 15:59.
We had him look around to see if anything was missing, if anything had been stolen or disrupted.
There was an Atlanta Braves baseball cap that was found in Jana's bed that was not there before, was not owned by Jana, was not owned by Jason Amami.
The partial shoe print on the cardboard, the Atlanta Braves hat, those things were leading us to believe that someone else possibly had entered the apartment.
In the sheriff's office video of the walkthrough, you can see that Jason's wounds from the attack are still fresh and visible. Still, he's able to calmly describe the evening's events in great detail.
I came home from the gym, and the door was locked. Jana was sitting right here.
The walkthrough was really important for us to watch his body language, listen to him, look for inconsistencies regarding what he was telling us about the scene, what happened that night.
He tells police the same story he did in his interview the day of the murder. Jonna went to sleep first. He went to bed around 12:30 and then was awakened around 4 a.m.
I heard a scream. I didn't say a word. My door was totally closed to my room. I woke up just from my sleep here, and I remember walking this way.
He says he opened his bedroom door, which was closed. He was confronted by someone.
And he is right there. And I'm still looking down, and I remember doing this and having him face me and grab me like this. And then he pushed me back this way, and I fell on the bed like this.
At first he was confused. He wasn't sure if he was being punched or being stabbed.
He just kept stabbing and stabbing. And that's at the point to where I noticed he finally had a knife. I remember trying to defend myself like this with my hands, and that's where I got the cuts on my hands.
And Jason described pushing them back towards the wall of the bedroom. That information was corroborated by blood smear on the drywall.
Jason says he no longer heard Jonna screaming and didn't know if she had escaped the apartment or not.
I took off and I ran as fast as I could this way.
He said that when he left the apartment, he had to unlock the front door to get out.
And as I ran through here and got the door open, I just ran. I didn't even stop in here. I ran down through here and down these stairs.
So Jonna's roommate goes running from this apartment complex. What route did he take?
Jonna's apartment is located over this way, so he ran out of the apartment complex. He saw a figure off in the distance. He thought it was the person that was still chasing him or looking for him.
Came this way and looked closer at it. And I saw a figure come from behind this little cabana here and kneel down in between one of these bushes here on the other side of the pool. And it was kind of like somebody going like this. Walking like this.
After knocking on doors at a neighboring apartment complex but not getting any help, Jason takes off down the road.
I think the biggest information that we got from the walkthrough was he felt like he was being pursued, and you kind of started to understand how and why he made it all the way to the 24-hour convenience store before he could summon help.
I bolted down to the street, and I got behind the car and started yelling even more. They didn't even stop. So I remember going just right next to these bushes here. I remember scaling right about this point right here. And then when I got to the door here, I looked inside, noticed the clerk. I got to here, told him to get help.
After that minute-by-minute account that was consistent with his earlier statements, detectives are now less convinced that Jason could be the killer. But is he telling the full truth?
When Jason was confronted by the polygrapher, he became very upset.
Turn your chair around, let's talk. Yeah. Your scores were substantial, say. Where am I wrong then? I have told you the 100% truth.
And new physical evidence leads to more questions than answers.
There was Jonna's DNA, Jason Amomey's DNA, and there was an unknown DNA that was collected.
They realize there's a third party that was in that room.
And a twist so wild, not even seasoned investigators could see it coming.
I felt very confident. This has to be our guy.
Why would anybody want to cop to a crime they didn't commit?
Families still looking to track down a murderer tonight, nearly 3 years after their daughter in a UT co-ed is killed in her apartment.
What is that like for you as a family to have your daughter murdered and no one arrested for it?
That was the only thing on my mind from morning to night. That's all I could think about.
When it comes to this mother, wanting to find answers. She would stop at nothing.
We need to know who did this to Jonna. We need answers.
We would follow up with the tips that we would get.
Ruling out suspects.
All I'm trying to tell her is the truth. And I'll give my point, Jason, that you haven't told it to me. And I've told you the 100% truth.
And seeing what's left.
There was an unknown DNA that was collected from several locations inside and outside of the apartment.
Now that's got to be important because now that's going to be something that's going to lead you to somebody. You get the case of Jonna Berry and you're running samples. Give me an idea of how that works.
There's no other person, literally no other person in the world, but you that could have left that sample.
You know what happened to this girl?
Here in Knoxville, we don't have a murder every day. When something like this happened to Jonna Berry, it kind of shook up the neighborhood.
Brendan Park Apartments calls itself a peaceful retreat here in West Knoxville. But one early December morning, that peace was shattered. 21-year-old Jonna Berry had been brutally stabbed in her own apartment.
In a million years, I would never have thought that this would have happened to my daughter.
21-year-old Jonna Berry and her roommate were stabbed in their Brendan Park apartment on December 6th. The roommate who survived was able to call police, but Jonna didn't make it, and her killer is still on the loose.
Based on the description that Jason gave us, we had a composite sketch made.
This is who sheriff's investigators are trying to identify. He's in his 20s, about 5 feet 8 inches tall, 150 pounds.
The thing about the composite, it has some really distinguishing features. Kind of almond-shaped eyes, widow's peak, kind of a blunted nose, but a white male.
If you think you have information that could help the case, you're asked to call the sheriff's office.
Leads were coming in, but leading nowhere. Meanwhile, Jonna's mom turns her grief into frustration. The weeks go by, no arrest. What is that like for you as a family to have your daughter murdered and no one arrested for it?
We called every day. We would call the detectives.
There was that feeling that detectives and the sheriff's office weren't doing enough, when in reality, they were working this every day. There just weren't any answers.
Jonna Berry's family is still upset over a lack of closure.
I can tell you that the 2 detectives assigned to the case were running nonstop, chasing down leads, going through tip lines. All of those things were happening, but the end result wasn't there.
It was very hard for me not to have an answer for Jonna's parents, and speaking with them on a daily basis, letting them know there's nothing new, there's no more leads.
I became so worried that it would become a cold case and we would never get answers. I kept it in the media. I did everything that I could.
You turned your grief into action.
I did. I did.
Yesterday, they were at the track in Bristol. Today, a church in downtown Knoxville.
She called me every time she was doing something different. Hey, we're going to put flyers at the cleaners. Can you come?
Joan used her own money to put billboards all over town, including a heavily traveled stretch of I-40.
We had several billboards with Jonna's pictures, with the picture of the composite on them, and $70,000 reward.
A local grocery store chain had information about seeking help to solve the unsolved murder on their delivery trucks.
We handed out flyers. Family and volunteers put flyers on cars in the neighborhoods around through there.
I don't think I could ever be as strong as Joan. She wouldn't stop. She digs in and she just goes.
That was the only thing on my mind every day, from morning to night. That's all I could think about was who would kill Jonna.
While the investigation has made little progress in naming a suspect, things are moving ahead on the forensics front.
Inside Jonna's apartment, there was a very pronounced shoe print in blood.
We ended up sending off the cardboard that the tread pattern was on, and we got information back from that this tread appeared to be this type shoe, Faded Glory. Most have sold at Walmart.
The shoe print ID is the most promising evidence so far, leading detectives to their strongest suspect.
We got a tip a few streets over from the apartment complex that an individual had been involved in some crimes, some thefts, and that led us to an individual named Michael Percival. He lived in a trailer park, probably within a few miles of the apartment complex. When we went into the trailer to talk to him, the carpet cleaner was sitting there next to the living room.
A carpet cleaner isn't necessarily suspicious in and of itself, but what if somebody was using it to clean up blood tracked in on the bottom of their shoe? Detectives ask Percival if they can look at his shoes.
Detective Delgado retrieved the shoes for Michael Percival, and she noticed the tread on those being similar to the tread that were found in the apartment in Jason Amamy's room. She kind of elbowed me and showed me the tread, and we were both kind of like, holy cow, these could really be, you know, the shoes.
I saw Captain Hall, and he said, we've got him. He still had the shoes, Kevin, he still had the shoes. Everything looked like it was lining up for us. Michael Percival was the individual responsible for Jonna's death.
But does the shoe fit?
We can't believe what he's saying. You know, it doesn't make any sense.
And there are more questions for Jason Amamy as his patience wears thin.
100%. I have anything to do with this. Calm down. I'm getting out of here. I ain't getting out of here. Calm down. I feel like a suspect.
Detectives Hall and Delgado have just gotten a big lead in Jonna Berry's murder case. They're led to a 19-year-old named Michael Percival. His shoes appear to match that bloody shoe print left behind at the crime scene.
I felt very confident. This has to be our guy.
Both of us were kind of big-eyed.
It was just like, we've got it solved. We couldn't believe that he kept the shoes.
Investigators bring Percival in for an interview. And in a shocking admission, the teenager says he witnessed the murder.
When Michael first admitted to being at Jonna's house, he explained that this was part of a drug deal gone wrong.
He said that he went there with a drug dealer to collect money from Jonna and Jason for drugs that they had purchased. He said that he entered the apartment and this individual that he came with was stabbing Jonna and Jason inside the apartment.
But as detectives keep questioning him, they say his story just isn't adding up.
There was nothing to indicate at all that Jason or Jonna were involved in drugs, so it was very inconsistent with what we knew about the victims.
Jonna was never involved in drugs. She was very straight-laced.
Investigators take a closer look at Percival's shoes that they believe might have been at the crime scene.
We sent those off for analysis, and the analysis came back.
It was not an exact match.
Those were not the shoes. This was another dead end.
Michael Percival was ultimately cleared.
Why would anybody want to cop to a crime they didn't commit?
We learned through the investigation that Michael Percival liked attention.
Now, back at square one, investigators are re-examining the case.
There's this one person detectives keep coming back to, and it's Jonna's roommate, Jason Amamy.
While evidence such as the CDs, a baseball cap, and that bloody shoe print suggest a third person might have been in the apartment, detectives still have questions for Jason.
We wanted to 100% make sure that Jason wasn't involved in this in any way. Even if there was another person involved, that he didn't let them in.
So police ask him to take a polygraph test. He agrees, and the test is videotaped.
Are you ready to take this test? Sure. All right. If you would,
Let me take off my sweatshirt.
yeah, if you would.
One of the main reasons that we asked Jason to take a polygraph is just simply to see like how cooperative he would be with it.
Do you know for sure who caused the death of Jonna Berry?
No.
Did you have prior knowledge that the person who stabbed Johnny would be at your apartment that night?
No.
But then things take a sudden turn in the interview room when the polygrapher begins to interrogate Jason.
Jason, I want you to listen to me.
Yeah.
You know, I think you're a smart boy, but you did horribly on that test.
Did I really?
You really did. Turn your chair around. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Why do you think you failed the test?
I don't know. I was 100% truthful.
The polygrapher basically started interviewing Jason Amemy and accusing him of being the killer.
But I've been doing this for a long time, and there's something that you have not told me. Did you stab that girl?
No. I did not stab her at all.
Did you get just angry, perhaps, over something that she said or something that happened there?
Never.
And you just lashed out?
Never.
All I'm trying to determine is the truth.
And I'm
And my point is, Jason, that you haven't told it to me.
Where am I lying then? I have told you the 100% true.
It was the first time we really saw Jason react emotionally in the sense you could tell he was very angered and offended by the question.
Are you saying I did it?
I'm saying it certainly looks like it.
It was confrontational. The polygrapher was not just asking questions, but was essentially involved in a heated interrogation.
100%. I don't have anything to do with this. I don't care what that box says. I voluntarily took this. If I had something to hide, why would I take this test? Why would I do this? Why would I do this?
Calm down.
I'm getting out of here. I ain't
You
getting out
don't
of
need to get
here.
mad. Calm down.
I feel like a suspect
Calm
now.
down. Calm down.
He's very, very upset. It took a little bit to get him calmed down.
Police are reviewing Jason's test results when they discover there's an error.
The polygrapher said that he failed the test. When we had two other polygraphers look at the results, they basically said that he passed the test.
Besides passing the polygraph, detectives also aren't able to link that bloody shoe print or partial fingerprint on the knife to Jason, so he's ultimately cleared.
Jason was originally from Colorado, and shortly after, he relocated back to Colorado.
Michael and I traveled to Colorado and visited with him. He answered our questions and had time for us, and I'm sure this has affected Jason's life too.
Jason has not only suffered the trauma of the attack, but he's also facing public scrutiny and innuendo.
Jason was a good kid who got caught up in this and the circumstances of it and made a decision of flight that was involuntary and took a lot of heat and a lot of flack for that, and has.
Weeks after the murder, a new bombshell development when lab results come back from blood at the crime scene.
There was Jonna's DNA, Jason Amemy's DNA, and there was an unknown DNA inside and outside of the apartment.
Could this DNA belong to the killer? Detectives are racing to find out.
That was the key to getting the person that did this.
Wow, they're going to be able to find who murdered her.
I see memories of Jonna everywhere in the house, right?
Yes. These are Jonna's little baby shoes.
They rest here?
That's where they stay here all the time, yeah.
Even though years have gone by since their daughter's murder,
this is my pride and joy. I love this.
In nearly every corner of every room, mementos of Jonna.
This is Jonna's room. We call it Jonna's room.
Jonna's room.
Still. And I still have her wedding gown.
You still have
Still
it?
have her wedding gown.
All these years
after
later.
20 years.
This is it. That's
This is
beautiful.
the dress, her wedding gown.
All the beading. Oh, look at the train.
She looked beautiful in it, yes. 20 years old. She had picked out a wedding band for Jason, and we bought it. So Jonah's dad wears the wedding band. He wears it every day.
Well, still got it. She worked so hard and did so many things. That was a small gesture.
I'm glad that she got to experience being engaged and planning a wedding.
Weeks after Jonah's murder, investigators still don't have a suspect. But then a break in the case. DNA results have just come in.
There were 3 DNA samples found at the scene: Jonah's, Jason, and an unknown male perpetrator.
The unknown sample, it was found in Jonah's bedroom. It was also found in the living room, and it was found on the back door and outside on the back deck. And we know that they exited out the rear of the apartment because the unknown DNA is not only on the back door, but it leads down the back stairwell. We found no unknown DNA on the front door or leading out the front door.
Detectives also make a key discovery on the murder weapon.
There was an unknown DNA that was found on the knife.
The race is now on to find out who the DNA belongs to.
We thought they're going to be able to find who murdered her.
But after running that unknown DNA through a law enforcement database, investigators get some disappointing news.
The DNA comes back to us. There's no one in the system that comes back to.
They don't know who it belongs to.
It seemed unusual to us that a person would commit a crime with such violence if they didn't have some sort of other violent history.
They ran the DNA and no match.
No match.
While meeting with investigators, Joan learned something else that shocks her.
Tennessee doesn't take DNA if you're arrested for a violent crime, only if you're convicted. I was absolutely shocked, and I even said, wow, well, that needs to be changed.
And that's exactly what Joan does. For more than 2 years, hoping it might lead to her daughter's killer, she pushes for a new DNA law.
I would go to the Capitol and introduce myself and ask them if they would support the DNA law.
We're talking about any violent crime such as murder, rape, even robbery. Those people arrested would have to submit their DNA.
Joan is a fighter, and she rose up like a phoenix.
Jonna Berry was her name, and her parents, Joan is sitting in the back of the chamber here with me today, have been on a crusade.
Well, a victory today for family and friends of murdered UT student Jonna Berry.
I think this is a very important bill for every citizen in the state of Tennessee.
You pushed and pushed, and you got this law passed in Tennessee. You changed the law.
Yes, we did.
Jonah's law.
It is. It's called the Jonna Berry Act.
But ironically, even after changing the law, Joan discovers there's still no match with that unknown DNA in her daughter's case. How did you find the strength to keep pushing?
And this was the most important thing in the world to me, to find out who murdered Jonah.
When it comes to this mother wanting to find answers, she would stop at nothing.
To keep her daughter Jonna's name out in the public, Joan goes on national talk shows.
Joan, what has it been like all these years?
There's no words to explain what we've gone through.
She even goes on the Montel Williams show seeking a psychic's help.
Really need to know, we need to know who did this to Jonah. We need answers.
Heartbroken warrior. That's who Joan is.
That was my prayer always, to have an answer. And I believed in my heart that God would answer my prayers.
Even if it took a while?
Mm-hmm. And one day he said, "What are you worried about? It's gonna be okay."
As the investigation into Jonah's murder went on, it really expanded. Thousands of tips came in.
We would follow up with the tips that we would get Every person that we came in contact with, we asked them to voluntarily commit to a DNA sample.
We looked into any person that we possibly could, but it was just dead end after dead end.
Then, about 2.5 years after Jonna Berry's death,
So in this lab, we actually have dual purpose.
a forensic scientist makes a key discovery.
I said, oh, wow, this might be something.
Our chief of detectives called and said that we all needed to get together. He needed to talk to us.
And he's like, get here as soon as you can.
A family still looking to track down a murderer tonight, nearly 3 years after their daughter in UT co-ed is killed in her apartment.
The main thing that you're going on is DNA evidence.
Yes, we had the unknown DNA. It was really our only connection to the person that was connected to this crime.
We thought, will we ever have this case solved? Then the case makes a turn. Someone called in a tip after looking at the composite sketch, and they said, that looks like someone I know. And that someone is Taylor Olson.
Looks very similar.
Yes.
Taylor Lee Olson is 22 years old. He lived about 15 minutes from the crime scene, and he was known to have committed some petty crimes, also harassment, theft.
He also had an outstanding warrant for his arrest out of another jurisdiction. We arrested him, asked him about the crime.
Does he present in any way at all to you that he might have a connection to this?
He said that he didn't know anything about the crime. He voluntarily gave us his DNA.
Given that Taylor Olson only had smaller petty crimes, he didn't really fit the profile of who we were looking for.
We just thought, hey, you know, this is just another person that looks like the composite sketch.
Olson's DNA is then sent to a lab to compare it to the unknown DNA found at the crime scene.
It comes back, it is a match to the blood of that unknown person found at the crime scene.
So in this lab, we actually have dual
Jennifer
purpose.
Millsaps, the forensic scientist at the lab, made the match.
I looked at it a couple times. I wasn't too sure. Wanted to make sure that it actually was a match and I hadn't confused something. So we actually ran it twice to verify it.
That must have been a big moment.
Oh yeah, it was huge.
Amazing. Probably one of the happiest moments of my life.
We were all very excited, high-fiving each other, celebrating.
Gave Brad a big hug or something because we couldn't believe it finally happened.
You get a phone call. There's a match.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing, so I said, I want to put you on the speakerphone because I wanted Mike to hear too, because I didn't trust what I was hearing. It was the blessing that God had answered my prayer.
So when we come back to town, we learn that Taylor Olson has a couple more outstanding warrants for his arrest, a burglary and a theft.
At that time, detectives don't have a warrant to arrest him for murder.
So we go into mode of looking for him and trying to locate him on those arrest warrants.
He was found, ironically, in the mall where Jonna worked, in the parking lot of the mall.
He was inside the trunk of a car. He was trying to hide from the officers. So we took him into custody.
You had your suspect.
We had a suspect. We wanted to give him an opportunity to explain why his DNA or his blood was found there in the crime scene.
What's up, Taylor? How you doing, man? Very good.
It was very important to us that he didn't have any upfront knowledge that we were going to talk to him about Jonna or the DNA.
Do you know why you're here?
Pretty much.
What for?
Guys accused me of breaking into his house and stealing a bunch of steal.
Had you ever heard about the Jonna Berry homicide case before?
Mm-hmm.
So you'd never seen Jonna Berry before?
Like, in person?
Yeah.
No, I never met her.
Detectives decide to confront Olson with the DNA evidence.
After I sent your sample off to the TBI lab, they got us a report back. It's a match for your DNA being in Jonna Berry's apartment.
Is this a joke?
No.
Like, I really don't know anything like it.
Trust me, it's not a joke. Is there any reason that you can explain your blood being in John Berry's apartment.
My blood was in John Berry's apartment.
Right.
You're serious?
Yeah.
He was very adamant that he was not there. He denied any involvement.
You think killed someone?
I'm just talking about the evidence, is what I'm talking about.
I've never killed anyone.
We knew he was there, of course, because of the blood, his DNA being there.
So we're here to give you an opportunity.
Okay.
To, tell us what happened, why you were there,
Dude.
and why your blood was there.
I have never been there. I don't know killer. I haven't killed no one. I've never killed anybody. Never.
There was no doubt in my mind at that point that this was the person that we'd been looking for.
We have your blood there.
So I'm pretty much huh?
We're giving you the opportunity to explain.
I don't have an explanation.
What happened?
Finally, we were just like, hey, he's just going to keep going and going with his story, and nothing's ever going to change.
It almost seemed like he thought that he was going to get away with it.
Olson is questioned 3 days in a row. And on the final day, investigators are about to make a breakthrough.
I've been sitting out here in the hallway listening to this that you're talking about, and I'm just about sick of it. Why did you do this to this girl?
And finally he said, okay, I was there.
I can't believe this happened.
You got the knife away from that person, went kind of crazy.
Have a seat now, Chair. You want both free?
Yeah. This is your opportunity to tell, because this is your last chance. Your last chance to get your voice out there. You tell your side of it. We already know her side.
On his third day of taped interrogation, Taylor Olson continues to deny any knowledge of Jonna Berry's murder.
Why don't you tell me what happened when you were inside?
I don't know.
He would just say, I don't have an explanation, don't have an explanation. So finally, we just said, like, enough's enough.
Taylor, I've been sitting out here in the hallway listening to this you're talking about, and I'm just about sick of it. You know what happened to this girl. Look at this. You were there. You know what happened to her. We know you were there. The evidence shows you were there. Why did you do this to this girl? Huh? Oh my God. Why'd you do that?
And that's when you really saw Taylor change. Like, once he saw the crime scene photo, this is what happened, this is what you did. Like, you need to talk about this.
Finally, with evidence of the crime staring him right in the face, Taylor Olson begins sharing his own account of the night of the murder.
I just didn't understand what happened. I just
Did you
thought
have
I
blood?
got too
Did you
drunk.
have blood on you? Were you cut?
I don't remember if I was cut.
Eventually, more details begin trickling in as Olson says he was out that night with a friend named Noah Cox.
Me and Noah went out and jacked a CD player out of a car. And we kind of got lost from each other. And someone came out when we were breaking into cars and yelled at us. Ran off. I don't know where the hell he was.
Now, wandering around on his own, Olson says he suddenly found himself outside Jonna's apartment.
He says he goes up back steps of Jonna and Jason Amamy's apartment.
I was looking for some keys. And then someone said, "Who are you?" or "What are you doing?" or something. And I was like, chill out. And then I just heard like a yell, and then I just felt the pain.
He goes in Jonna's bedroom. Jonna wakes up. He says they get into a confrontation and she has a knife, stabs him on the arm, fought with her over the knife.
She did fight back hard. She fought for her life. That's why the stabbing kept going on and on.
You got the knife away from that person and just went kind of crazy?
Yeah. I guess they were sleeping with it. I just freaked out.
As for Jason Amamy, Olson says he had no idea that another person was in the apartment.
I didn't even remember anything about the guy until the news said it was 2 people. I didn't realize everyone got hurt like that.
Did you just go in there and things just went wrong?
I really don't know her, man. I've never met her.
There's no reason for him to select that apartment other than the fact that it was the first apartment he came to that had an open door.
And Jonna, according to her mom, was a stickler for locking the door every night. Nobody knows why the door was unlocked on that night.
After nearly 3 years of unanswered questions, with investigators looking at people in Jonna's life and complete strangers alike, Olson's confession is startling. And to wind up having a random person, a break-in, nobody who's really connected to her, that's not common, is it?
No, not really. It wasn't. It was a surprise to us, and I think everybody else was kind of surprised too.
Now that Knox County detectives know Taylor Olson's full story, he prepares to tell his mom and sister the truth.
Would you rather talk to your mom on the telephone, or would you rather talk to her in person?
I'd like to see her.
She really is being a mom. You kind of have to feel for her. What's going on? What has my son done?
What happened, Tay? The truth. Taylor, I love you.
It was an accident.
Are you sure? Taylor? Taylor, I need to know. It's okay. I want to know the truth, okay?
I can tell you.
Okay. You'd rather have the train. That's okay, too. Did they offer you one?
Yes.
When did you tell him the truth? How did that come about?
I got my blood's on the knife. And my blood's like in
Then
the
why did they
back door.
let you go? Did they get the DNA back? Okay, and it matches? Taylor, okay. Listen, I'm gonna help you. I want to make sure that this is for real and that you did it. No, I don't know.
And at that point, you feel their brokenness over this horrific crime.
Taylor, I want you to know something. I want you to start praying because there is a God. Do you hear me? He loves you and will forgive if this is true.
I'm so sorry, Mom.
After coming clean to his family, Olson now faces the press.
Did you mean to kill her? What did you do? Was it an accident? But you stabbed her 26 times.
And his look was one of complete surprise, shock, baffled.
He told reporters it was an accident.
How's that an accident? Accidents happen one time, not 20 plus. No, that angered me that it was an accident.
Well, after 33 months of wondering and waiting, Jonna Berry's parents finally came face to face with the man charged with killing their daughter.
22-year-old Taylor Olson, he's facing 7 counts, including first-degree murder.
But just as Taylor Olson is about to go on trial, he does something that utterly rocks everyone involved in the case. You finally are getting to court, and then you get shocking news.
Our top story tonight. This man, 22-year-old Taylor Lee Olson of Knoxville, is behind bars. Now, today's announcement providing some relief to Jonna's family, who have spent years and countless hours searching for her killer.
What was that like for you to see him and to come face to face with him in court?
You look at that person and it's like, I know you're not supposed to hate anybody, but I hated him.
Cameras were not allowed inside the courtroom for today's hearing, but inside, 22-year-old Taylor Lee Olson did not enter a plea when he was arraigned.
Olson faces a 7-count indictment, including 3 counts of felony murder and 1 count of first-degree murder.
They're planning for a trial, and then we get word Taylor Lee Olson is dead. He hanged himself in his jail cell.
I got a call the Monday after Easter that he had been found in his jail cell, that he had fashioned a ligature with sheets.
finally are getting to court. And then you get shocking news. He's taken his life.
When I got the news, I became very upset. I even cried.
What were the tears for?
Just tears of relief, because we don't have to fight the system.
But Joan Berry wants confirmation with her own eyes that her daughter's killer is really gone.
I called the DA's office and I said, I know you probably think I'm just a crazy old woman, but I want to see him dead, just the way I had to look at my daughter, dead.
Joan and Mike wanted that. We met in the conference room in the district attorney's office and showed them photographs of Taylor Olson's autopsy.
To some people it might sound cruel, but I think it gave me some closure.
I think that the Berrys needed to see the photos of Taylor Olson because they were deprived of the right of a trial.
Though there's no trial, the case isn't exactly over, because in writings left behind in his jail cell, Taylor Olson tries to argue his innocence from beyond the grave.
I read a bunch of letters that said, I didn't do it. Then hung himself. That's a coward's admission of guilt.
Olson writes a long note called The Story, where he tries to shift blame by bringing back a familiar name.
Taylor Olson said he didn't do it and that Noah Cox, his friend, is the one who committed the crime.
Noah Cox was the individual that Taylor said he was with when they were breaking into vehicles and were separated.
In an audio recording with investigators, Noah Cox denies breaking into cars with Olson that night, and he's adamant that he was never in Jonna Berry's apartment.
Mr. Cox, were you present in the apartment when Jonna Berry was murdered?
No, sir. The whole story just really doesn't make sense.
We had talked to Noah Cox. He had submitted to a DNA sample. His DNA didn't come back as a match to the unknown sample.
There was no evidence showing that Noah Cox was ever in that apartment.
There's no other blood samples, fingerprints, nothing to indicate that anyone but Taylor was there.
Taylor Olson's partial fingerprint was ultimately found on the murder weapon. Was there any part of you that felt any sadness for the outcome?
I felt sad for his family. Two families' lives have been ruined, you know, painfully. I'll never see my daughter again. Now they'll never see their son again.
Through their pain, Joan and Mike Berry stay busy, focusing on the laws they've changed and all the victims they've helped. And now here we are at the TBI, where there is big change.
There is change.
There's now a memorial to Jonna at the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation's Knoxville DNA lab.
Long after we're gone, she'll still be helping others.
To be able to have made that kind of change in a state law, that must be gratifying, even in the midst of your heartbreak.
It is very gratifying, but it's also sad that this had to happen to my daughter.
And when Joan and Mike aren't tirelessly fighting for victims' rights,
every senator vote on the bill. Every senator vote has every senator voted.
You do remember that one?
August the 26th or 21st birthday.
they take time to savor the bright, wonderful memories their daughter left behind, including a note written to each of them on her high school graduation day.
I still have the letter, so I'd like to read it to you, and it says, "Dear Mom, I want to thank you for being my mom. You have always been the one I could turn to, no matter what. The only true friend that I've ever had. I only hope that someday that I'll be a mom as good as you are. I hope that I have made you proud, and I hope I will continue to make you proud in the future. I love you, your daughter, Jonna."
I love you guys.
She loved life. You know, I can still see her in her little red convertible with the top down and her ponytail blowing in the wind.
Jonna, smile to the camera, girl. Hey.
Jana's dead, but she's not dead in my heart. I plant flowers in her memory. Sometimes I'm outside, I think butterflies remind me of her.
So she's still with you?
She is.
Such emotional words from a mother, David. After her daughter's murder, Joan Berry actually started a support group to help families and victims of violent crime.
And Deborah, as you know, she also continues to advocate for DNA arrest laws. Today, 34 states require that DNA is collected after an arrest. That's our program for tonight. I'm David Muir.
And I'm Deborah Roberts. From all of us here at 2020 and ABC News, good night.